I saw one exhibition in Düsseldorf from outside, from the window, and I'm very intuitive, and I was in front of one of those blue monochromes, and I found a long fascination looking at it, and it was just hypnotizing. I thought this man must be really like a guru, something very spiritual, and I thought it was the old man. But then I met him, and it was just, he was so young and beautiful and intense, like a sunshine, and so that was very different. But spiritual, I was right, he was so spiritual.
Quand il travaillait, il était tout à fait différent, et même ses pensées, il ne s'ouvrait pas vers le public comme il était réellement. Il pensait très très sérieusement au immatériel, et les gens croyaient que l'immatériel c'était pour épater les gens.
I was 19 and my brother arranged that I went to Arman, who had 3 children, to be sitting the kids, and au pair, we say that in France, and like Arman, he is an artist, and I was an artist in that time too. I was already working in '57 in Düsseldorf and doing my reliefs, and so when I came there, I had a beautiful room and looking at the palm tree, and every day I was doing my paintings, and one day I heard somebody on the door, and he said, I'm Yves Klein and I wish to see Arman. And I said, oh, he is not here, then you should come tomorrow, because now it's too late. And so he came the next day, and so I didn't still not see him. I was pretty emotional, could not open the door. So, because in Arman's, when I arrived in his house, he had also a little red monochrome, and I didn't speak a word of French. And I was looking up and saw that, and I said, wow, that is amazing that you have a painting of this incredible artist. I wanted to say, I couldn't, but I made the gesture, and yeah, when he arrived, Arman was on that day getting to the market and putting beautiful vegetables and fruits on the table, and Yves was sitting there and I was sitting there. And of course Yves was flirting right away, and he was just very electric, very intense. Yeah, and also he brought me to his studio and in Eau de Cagnes. And in the evening we wanted to go out, and so I was having a look on his press books, and I was seeing my brother's name in Das Rote Bild, one exhibition from the Zero Group, and Yves was in there, and my brother. And so I tried to make him know that that was my brother, and so he understood how I was sensitive to his work and all that. Because most people were joking, and the girls, you're doing always the blue, and making fun a little bit of him, in a way, kind of ironic. And for me it was just like, I think it gives me the same thing, like into space also, into, the one color, the blue, really you can disappear into it. You'll be very attracted to it, and you forget the frame, the size. You just get lost into it and to the universe. It has and also the immaterial of it. For it's so little, it's so big and so powerful. What you can do with color and just one color. It's like a personality, you know. But in the meantime, it goes into the material and into space. It's a big window into something that has no limit.
You were together as a couple, but you were also
Not very long. It was just 4 years, but it was like 100 years. It was so intense. So many things happened, and I learned so much. It was short and a very long time too. But how it developed, we just were in oneness, I think, in a way. We really, the art was really like we had a family of children, you know, and we cared for it. He was 34 years old, and he told me when I met him in 58 that he thinks he would be, he thought he would die soon. And of course it's very shocking when you hear that. And I saw him with very sad eyes. And he said, I think, because I did the show of the material in the void in Yves Klein, and I think that this artwork is calling me, that my body will not be there anymore. And so he was thinking of surviving spiritually, and that his artwork would be more complete. And also he said 3 days before he died, he told a friend of ours, we were talking, and he said, you know, I will soon have the biggest studio in the whole world and creating only immaterial. He felt it, you know, it's an artist is kind of living in between times, you know, there is no time really, it's timeless, and the art too, it's always timeless. Yeah, I was pregnant, and he knew he will not see his baby. He felt it. It was, he had his heart attack when the first time when he saw Mondokane. He was so upset because this movie was taking his work, who was really so sincere, and they turned it into something for joke in a way, you know, to make a parody out of it. And he was very upset because they did a beautiful movie. The movie got lost. Then he had another one in when he was talking about artists, what artists should have been access to the science. And he said it would be wonderful if they could collaborate. Because he was very upset because the director who let him into Gaz de France to do some fire paintings, he was fired. So that was hard for him to see that for his work, this man lost his job. And so he said that it's not nice that things happen like this. It would be better if artists could collaborate with the technology and with those, you know, like the fire flame, you know, it's a huge tube, it's very heavy also, and to do the fire on the painting, it was amazing. You have this incredible photographs and movie also about it, and no, it was absolutely fantastic that he could do this. And thanks to this man who lost his job.
Mm. So
and there he had when he was talking about that, he was so emotional, and he had another heart attack. And in the hospital they found out he had kind of a pocket. It was broken there, and there was still a little pocket where the blood was accumulating. And the third one was this blows, and he was all blue. And that was home when I was alone with him, and the doctor said he should lay down and be quiet, because we were supposed to go to Nice to give birth to little Eve, and with the car he said it's too tiring, he should fly, and so he organized with a friend that he drives the car, and he was flying with me. But then 3 days later he was just trying to lay down after lunch, and finally he went up and said, "Oh, to call the doctor, I don't feel good." And the time I go just over on the wall around and called the doctor and said, "Can you come?" He comes right away. He was not very far. I went to the room. He was vomiting. He was laying, and he was. So it was all blue. Because the explosion of this little pocket was putting the blood right away everywhere inside. But I had the feeling I was levitating, and the bed was levitating with him. It was just, he was there for 3 days or 4 days, and they were putting it on a board, in the living room, and with his uniform, he was clothed, had his clothes on. And we had an open door for all the friends to come visit, and we had a big line from the street to the house, the staircases, were a lot of people who came in and visiting him. I remember Tingley, when he came, he said, "Oh, he is incredible." He thought he was doing it as a play, kind of playing his dead. And the next day he had an appointment with somebody who was supposed to do his mask. And he couldn't go on that day, of course.
Il avait souvent parlé de sa mort avant.
Oui, c'était presque une obsession. Il avait envie de devenir lui-même immatériel, comme il croyait qu'il pouvait continuer à vivre sans son corps. C'était pour lui un rêve merveilleux de mourir et de vivre intensivement comme esprit. D'ailleurs, il avait un projet de roquette qu'il a réalisé, mais en petit, où il voulait se mettre dedans et partir dans l'espace. Ce roquette avait des mouvements de plus en plus rapides et qui se détruisaient dans l'espace. Et lui avec. Il avait des idées comme ça souvent. Et surtout pour son immatériel, il voulait que les gens le sentent. Et il se disait que c'était peut-être pas possible à son vivant de faire vraiment un immatériel aussi fort que ça aurait été possible quand il est mort. Et ça, il disait juste une minute avant sa mort, il disait je vais avoir un atelier le plus grand au monde qu'on peut considérer comme l'espace pour travailler intensivement. Et surtout les derniers mois avant sa mort, il se basait surtout sur le matériel. Alors on peut considérer que sa mort était quelque chose d'extraordinaire et vraiment rêvé et arrivé à temps, parce que c'était au milieu de l'époque des matériels qu'il est mort.
I was 7 months pregnant, and this baby was really saving my life, because but I could not go to the place in Nice to the burying. It was just not possible, because when I was in the train to go from Paris to Nice, because his body was transported there, and my baby was turning around, and so I thought I can't do the risk to go there and give birth in the cemetery. I don't want that, so I didn't go. But I didn't really had the feeling that we were so close. I mean, that I don't like to see the body going down. Also, I had that when I was 12. A good friend of mine died. She was 11 years old with a brain cancer, and I did not really like the idea to be under the earth like this. And I think maybe that was also kind of playing, so I like better thinking of the spirit being there and being with the spirit. monochrome blue, blau, yeah, and rouge, and gold. I can see that a flame, the heart of the flame, is those colors, and it's almost immaterial, but it's there. And I think it's very spiritual, like a candle. So for me, this is kind of expressing the spirituality and the birth of a flame. And the flame is so important for an artist. If you don't have the flame, you can't be a creator. And when you have the flame, you totally levitate and be like being in love and have a totally different energy than normally. And I try to keep my flame always. Gold is something in the material, but it's very precious. The blue is really giving us the space of the universe, or the immaterial also, but can be spiritual. Could be a portrait of the spirituality, but we say God sometimes. We have these names, but I don't think we should name it really. And the red is really the organic, the blood, the veins, the life of flesh, I could say. This is not something he told me, but I see it like this.
Le bleu, eh bien, il a fait presque toutes les couleurs, d'abord, dans les tableaux monochromes, et il trouvait que dans le bleu, il trouvait la sensibilité la plus riche de ce qu'il recherchait.
Mais il voyait toute la Terre en bleu.
Oui. D'ailleurs, ça s'est prouvé que la Terre est réellement bleue, comme Gagarine est monté, il a vu la Terre en distance dans un bleu marine magnifique. D'abord, on lui demandait pourquoi vous voyez la Terre bleue, pourtant il pleut, c'est gris, et il disait, moi je la vois bleue. Tout le monde riait. Alors, après, quand l'article est sorti de Gagarine, les gens étaient un petit peu gênés.
The image is really what it does express. It's a kind of elevation of a spirituality, you know, and that makes an elevation of the attraction from the earth. So that's how we're floating in the universe, you know, with the earth. That's how it is. So that's why he did the so. But we had still a mat, you know, to hold. I was holding it with the judo people when he was jumping, and he went up and again tried, but he wanted to have this movement, you know. That was so important. And like he was dominating his body pretty well, you know, he could really achieve it. But how many times he had to jump and fell, and the people have to hold so that he doesn't go onto the floor, even with a matlat, you know. It's a pretty big impact from jumping from the first floor there into this mattress. I was so scared because he really got hurt on the shoulders, but he wanted to have the right picture, you know.
And why did he do it?
Yeah, because he had to do it. He had to elevate yourself, try to grow. But he did a kind of a Sputnik, a kind of a machine who goes like this, and always faster, faster, faster. And he wanted to sit in there, and just go into the space and explode there. That was, he had it in his idea. He was a judo master, and he had the 4 degrees. He had a 3rd degree in France, then he went to Japan. He had to do it from the 1st degree on again, and he went to until the 4th degree, who was an honorific degree, and this one, the France did not accept it, and they accepted not too many years ago, after he's dead. Finally, they decided that he really had have the fourth degree of Japan. The art is very much into the spirit, you know, like the sumos, the judo people, it's the same kind of thing. You know, when they just go and try to the technique, you know, they kind of have a spiritual feeling, how they prepare the energy, how they get into each other and how they can win the other, and this is it's very immaterial, all the action, you know, you can't tell, it's hard to talk about, but it's happening. Yeah, I talked about the monochrome, but when I talk about the prints, body prints, that was something really very, very pleasant and special for me, because I could do prints with him because I was there and he didn't have to look for a model, and when he has this creative moment, he wants to do it. And when I saw my first print, I could not really feel my soul, but it was into it. It was just there, immaterially feeling. You could say it's there into the painting. And that was very interesting for me, that the body and the soul is one in a print. It's not really a performance when I did it, but it's just, we did a piece of art, you know, and he did the piece of art, in fact, because that was his idea. And but the collaboration is great, because the models, normally, he told me in the past, they were really frustrated when they had to sit there, just being in the room, and then they look at the painting and there was nothing in the monochrome, you know. And then he allowed them to do a monochrome on the floor with their own body. That was before I met him. And then the model was more satisfied because he can be in, has something to do, I mean, to collaborate. I think if you just stay there and you feel you can never, there is nothing what comes up but related to yourself, you get a frustration. And so he really changed the academic way to work with models. It was something very new in this way. And I think it's a beautiful way for the models. It was very exciting. They always were very pleased to work with him. The first time he did this already with other people. I was in London when he did this, his first time. And also from the monochrome with the model, he did it before I arrived. So I know about it already. So it's not the first time in that way for me. The first time is just that it was my body on the paper or on the canvas. And so I think that it's a beautiful moment to see. And when you paint yourself blue and you feel like with clothes, there's nothing for nudity or so. There's no strange ideas or anything. It's very, very beautiful, natural, and how you say? No, I enjoyed it really. It's just when you do art, you know, it's so spiritual, and you are in another place, you know. In fact, when there is a birth of a piece of art. And I told him also that I really will wish with all my heart to be somebody who can really be on his side to help. So, but anything we can do with hands, and like being an assistant. But this was I was his companion, but I really needed to be on his side and help him preparing the panels, and we put the car. It was an incredible moment for me to work with him. So I was not a paid assistant, but I was more than that. For me, it was a great honor to be able to be on his side. I learned from him that you have to be everything in balance. Not to be too I think that's why he did also the body prints, because he was too extreme into the spirituality, the monochrome, the immaterial, and you never should forget the flesh. What we say, it's our temple for our soul. We have to take care of our temple too. And for everything you have to balance. I think that's very important for your energy, for what you can do, and don't get crazy and just work like you're self-dead and get into burnout, So we have to be careful with everything and respect our limits. And I think it's so exciting when you think of all the young people who are into the monochrome, and so many got something out of his open windows, but in their own way. They just personalized it, and also were very admirative about his art. I know so many people who did, Jim Turrell and Anush Kapoor, and name it. There's also all the young people and a lot of people. So he really reached the new world. It gave a new view, a new vision, and that's very important, I think. Yeah, I don't think that anything could disappear. I still don't believe in death. I think he is even closer. You carry the souls with you. May also from your parents and friends, and I have the feeling always that I'm so connected to so many people. I mean, we are all connected. And in my work, in my latest work, I express it really well. I do a lot of forms in my paintings in black space, and it's like almost everyone has a kind of a soul, and it's like a quick synergy from thousands of people, but it's all in us, and we connect. So I think it's important to know that we're not alone, and it's nice to think that we will be continually around. I think his work, when you see a show now, it looks just like it's done today. It's always fresh. You see, it's timeless, and it will always be. Nothing can top it, because it really went to the infinity, and for the immaterial, where can you go further? It's really, but still there is a lot to discover. I don't say the artist should not find something from their side, but I have my own way, and I express myself totally differently, but I know that I can express myself through my work. And every artist will be having still space to do something, what could be really exceptional. But in his way, what he wanted to express, I think he really went. It's hard to do better.